So once again, Rio, thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit down with me for the podcast. Welcome to the Montreal
Thank
Entrepreneur
you.
Show. It's a
Thank
pleasure to
you.
have you. And for those who don't know who you are, please tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Rio Infantino. I guess I'll be speaking mostly about the concept I started in healthier, sustainable eating, which is called Copper Branch, about 7 years ago, actually 6.5 years ago. Yeah, and so I'm an entrepreneurial person who likes challenges and likes to, try to create something different and get faced with different opportunities and meet amazing people and things like that. So I'm just a regular kind of person who likes entrepreneurship. Really, that's pretty much it.
All right. So that's the 360-foot view. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Let's go back a few decades because I'm trying to understand like your journey from who you are today and then who you were back then. Okay.
Mm.
Let's say we were friends in high school. Like, how would people describe you? How did your friends describe you back then?
I was more of a nerdy type, studious, liked bookstores a lot, liked to learn. Was very experimentative, so I would try little like science projects, things like that. Really intrigued me. And I mean, I was with a nice group of people, but I also hung around with some not so nice people. So I got to experience, I guess, both sides. I chose the nice people side more. I think that was my preference.
Well, that's good.
And yeah, that's it. So I was really a regular person who went to school, and being a teenager is kind of tough, I think.
Yeah. Was there
So
anything that affected you as a teenager, like any impact sometimes that shaped your life a little bit today, or no?
no,
Major
not so much. I know I had my grandmother passed when I was like a young teenager. Yeah, and that kind of emotionally affected me a little bit. And she was obese as a woman. So I think that's when like food and strategy for eating better sort of hit me a little bit, because I realized like they were eating a lot of the wrong foods,
hmm
and it actually shortened her life considerably. So that was a bit inspiring. Yeah, I think so. In that sense, dramatic yet inspiring.
Okay. Were you born here or no?
I was born in Montreal. Yeah, yeah. My parents are originally from Italy, and they immigrated with their parents. A little while ago, and yeah, so I grew up in Montreal. We lived in Toronto for a little while actually, and then came back.
I looked and it says that you studied after high school, so you'd move into Was it psychology that you study, or yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Why psychology?
I think it's because I really like people a lot, and I'd
Okay.
like to try to understand people more. I like how to think, how to communicate better, how to understand people,
hmm
because we're all the same, but yet we all think differently, and sometimes we just can't get through to one another. And I also want to understand myself more.
Okay.
So I think that's part of it. Yeah, just trying to see how everything fits in.
Did that
Yeah,
help? Did that help?
yeah, it helps a lot. It really helps to understand the workings of the human mind, and how we interact with each other, and more of a bigger aspect of like getting a grip on the bigger picture of things, I think. Yeah.
So, but you diverted into business. So I'm trying to understand why not stay with that? Why did you make the switch to go into business?
Well, business really is a lot of it has to do with psychology, because you really have to understand people, and you have to understand how people react, and how they behave, and how they make decisions, and how they purchase things, and how they follow things, how they like trends. So I think it's really interrelated. I think it's really the foundation,
Yeah,
psychology for any business.
that's
You
good.
know, yeah.
So now, okay, so now you're done with your schooling, and then, or during the schooling, you decided to go into the restaurant to start working, right? That's how it started.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
there something in particular that you chose the restaurant industry, or was it just by chance you just found a job to help you out with, while you
It
were
was
going
really
at
by
school?
chance. In those days, I mean, we used the phone book. Today, it's we had an actual hard copy. So I looked up, I opened it up and I looked in the restaurants, and the first one was A, and it was called Angelo Il Cacciatore, which is Italian,
hmm
and it's Angelo the Hunter. So it was on Crescent Street downtown Montreal, And I actually got lost because I was maybe 15. So the bus took me to Crescent Street in Anjou. And I got out and I said, "There's no restaurant here." And he says, "Well, you're in the wrong city, sir." So back on the bus, went downtown. Beautiful restaurant. I was really in love when I went in. Like there were like bottles of wine in the wall. It was kind of dark, beautiful table settings, nice glassware. So I kind of like sort of was really intrigued, and I really fell in love with the restaurant industry that moment as soon as I walked in. That was really the first time I entered such a beautiful restaurant. And
Mm-hmm.
the lady was kind enough to hire me. She says, "Okay, just you could start washing some dishes." And there I was on this big machine, and washing dishes and watching everything. It was really, really cool. There were like several chefs and people making salads, people cutting vegetables, and there was like a lot of activity. It was very, very busy. You
Did you
know.
go up the
So
scale? Like, did you move from washing the dishes to something else?
yeah, basically it sort of moved up. I didn't say washing dishes too long. Then I went to salad prepping, and then I went to sort of assisting the cook, and then I moved to the front of the house. And then I started, switching around different restaurants and experimenting with different fine restaurants. Actually, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fine restaurants. And then I decided to. I got a job with McDonald's because I was really intrigued, and I went into management in McDonald's. So
Okay.
they made me. They took me from the street, and they actually, hired me as a manager's assistant, and that was a great experience because really McDonald's really, really, really trains you super well. And I went to McDonald's University.
Oh, you
It
did.
was part of my training. Yeah, it was 6 months. It was really intense, and I had to learn everything. I mean, at one point, I was even like on the rooftop, learning about the air conditioning systems and stuff like that. I mean, I had to work the night shifts. I had to work with the cleaners in the evening sometimes. I had to know the whole business inside out, and the theory and the practical parts and the food safeties. So I think that was a great foundation. It really helped. So I stayed a year there, and then from there, I bought my first Subway franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
I like
did have a
Subway.
franchise. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, for Subway. Yeah, you said that. Okay. But
yeah,
what about the two? What about the dry cleaner and the cleaning company? Where did that fit in?
yeah. That's true too. It was more. It was before. What was that? Yeah, it was before. Was it after? Yeah, it was before the McDonald's.
Before the
Yeah,
McDonald's. But
yeah,
so that didn't last too long.
yeah. It lasted about a year and a half, 2 years actually. Yeah, the dry cleaner was really, really weird. I didn't have so much money in those days, and I found an ad in the paper, and this guy, a nice Indian man, he had a dry cleaner, and he says you can rent it. It was like pretty much bankrupt, and it was really disgusting in there, and it was, and I knew nothing about dry cleaner, so I bought the place for $5,000, and he gave me the keys. It was dark, it was cold, it was damp. I had no idea about what the hell dry cleaning was. It cost me a fortune in changing the filters, the percolene, solvent that cleans the clothes. The boiler wasn't working. The press machine was done. So I had to slowly, slowly fix it. And then there was a nice man who actually had his own dry cleaner,
Mhm.
and he was dying. He had a heart attack in his own dry cleaner because he was a workaholic, and the doctor says you can't work anymore. So he came to work for me 2 times a week, which was perfect because he was amazing. He really knew the business really inside out. So he really helped me out, and it became a good viable business. And then we started getting like contracts from like fires and stuff, like insurance companies. They used to bring us like thousands of pieces of clothes, and we used to process all that stuff. And yeah, it was good. Then I opened up a second little location, a satellite location. It was fun. Yeah, so it was, that's what that was. And the janitorial lasted about maybe 2 years as well. And I didn't really enjoy the janitorial. As you know, you're in that. It's a tough business.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I worked really, really hard on that. And like I had smaller clients, and they were really particular, and they wanted like super high quality cleaning all the time. And
Mhm.
and it was really hard, and it was early, early, early in the mornings. And so I don't know. I just sold it to a small company, who bought it.
So what about the dry cleaning companies? Did you sell that as well before you move on to the other?
Yeah, yeah. We actually sold that as well. Yeah, yeah. We wound
How
up.
old were you? So how old were you when you started the first business?
Um, I had a TV repair business that lasted about maybe 9 months. That was pretty interesting. We were TVs needed to be repaired at times. At that, it was really funny. That was like when I was 16. I started that, and then the dry cleaner. I think I was about Yeah, maybe 18.
18. Wow, that's pretty
Yeah,
young, isn't it?
yeah, it's a little young, yeah.
Yeah.
And the janitorial was, yeah, it was probably right after that.
Okay. So then
Yeah.
let's see this a little bit, dissect this. So now you've learned quite some skills from owning like three businesses from 18 to I'm not sure what age. And now you
Mhm.
decided to join McDonald's and you got the training. Then you decided, you know what, I have to move on to something else. And that becomes Subway. And at that time, from what I've read, there were no Subway here in Montreal or in Quebec. Is that correct?
Yeah, there were very, very few.
Oh,
That's
very,
right.
very few. Okay.
Very few. I think there were like four.
Four. Okay. So it's something
Four.
quite new.
Yeah.
What made you do take that decision, and what was your thought process like to make such a big decision?
Well, I wasn't going to stay at McDonald's for much longer because,
Hmm.
like, I mean, I sort of, so I didn't know what else to do. I saw Subway and I liked their marketing. I thought they were up and coming because at that time they had 7,000 stores
Hmm.
already. And so it looked like a credible company. And I got in really, really cheap because the person I bought from, was like losing his shirt on it. And he sort of pretty much gave me the keys with the mortgage.
Okay.
So I thought it was, yeah, interesting thing to look at the time. Yeah.
So then you got the first store, and then how long after did you start scaling?
About 3 weeks after, there was another opportunity that came
Oh,
by.
wow.
It was really fun. It was from the guy who had it in Quebec. It was really funny because he was expanding quite fast, and he didn't even know that his store wasn't opened until the shopping center called him and he says, did you know that your Subway is not open today? And he had no clue. So he sold me that one as well. You know,
So it seems like opportunities are like coming to you, right?
well, you look for them. You look, right. If you look for opportunities, they come. If you don't look, well, they won't come.
Yes, exactly. So for the first Subway, did you actually do the sandwiches as well, or you just said, you hired people and
Oh,
then
absolutely. No,
you
no,
did?
I had to make all the sandwiches. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I
No.
did the sandwiches. So sometimes I was the only guy making the sandwiches
Okay. All right.
because it was quiet.
Yeah. So now
Yeah.
the second one, just how long after you said? A few weeks?
3 weeks. Yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah, it came up quick and it was a good opportunity. So I jumped on it.
What about the money? How did you get the money to jump onto this opportunity?
There wasn't too much money. He wanted, like, it wasn't too expensive at the time. And he
Hmm.
wanted a small amount of money down, which I was able to get. I don't know from where. I think the generosity maybe of my ex-wife. She lent me like maybe $10,000, and I put it down on that, and then he financed the rest. So I was able to pay it over a few years.
Weren't you afraid of anything? Say, oh, maybe I have this one. Maybe I should focus on this one before I move on to the second one.
No, no, I think I had confidence in myself to do it. Like I think it's easy enough.
That's pretty interesting, eh?
Really?
Yes, it is because a lot of
Yeah,
people today they buy one business and then they stay there for ages with just
yeah,
one. They're afraid of moving forward, buying another one because they don't know, the uncertainty of it. And then they just focus on that because scaling is not easy for a lot of people.
yeah. It's true. I know. You have to. Everybody could do it. I used to tell a lot of restaurant people, like especially in bigger restaurants, they said, my life is here. It's like a prison sentence, right? You hear that all the time. But I said it doesn't have to be. Like for me, for example, like at 6 p.m. I would leave for sure. And I would never work any Sundays ever.
Mm-hmm.
I would never work Sundays. And like for like 15 years, it was the case. I never had to work Sundays because I chose not to. And you put the people in charge or whatever and you manage it that way,
Okay.
right? It's doable.
So I'm thinking the training you got from the McDonald University kind of helped you a lot to make sure that people are in place instead of you working in the business too long because you were able to scale to 16 locations at one point. Is that correct?
Hmm. Well, McDonald's trains more on the operation side
More the
and the
operations?
food
Okay.
safety. Yeah, yeah, it was definitely more operations. This part was more trial and error and mindset.
Hmm.
Okay, so like, yeah, I did get burnt a few times, for sure. Sometimes people walked away with the whole inventory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But what tell us a little bit about your mindset because you're
yeah,
fairly young at that time and you just had a few businesses. I'm sure that helped a little bit with your confidence into the scaling process. Tell us about the mindset because I'm sure you had some terrible days because it's not easy owning a business.
Well, for me, there was no other alternative. That was the way I was going to run my business. So I
Mm,
had to find a way to make that work because I'm not going to be a total slave if I'm going to scale. You cannot.
mm,
So you have to find another way, right? So
mm.
my determination was that I'm not going to be a slave to the business,
Yeah. So
right?
you're back against the wall. This has to work,
Yeah,
basically.
well, you make it work. Yeah.
It's very good. But did you have any mentor, any guidance, or any people surrounding you? I don't know, family members who had businesses as well?
Not so much. No, no.
Seems like you are very a driven person. Like you knew what you wanted and then you just went after it.
I guess, yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely didn't want to be, I wanted to be more independent. That's
Mm,
for sure. I think a lot of business owners want that. I think,
exactly, yeah. But a lot of
yeah.
people don't know how to do that.
Well, we get it at different degrees, right? I mean,
Mhm.
like just having a business is already a big step. And then, can you scale? Can you, get more free time from your business? Can you actually make it profitable?
Okay. So now
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the journey. So you have 16. That took you some a few years, but how the more you grow, what are some of the difficulties the challenges that you had to face, and how did you solve them?
Well, the biggest challenge was really procrastination. I mean, it's staying organized and keeping the paperwork in order. That was my biggest challenge. Because otherwise, it's really simple. It's not that complicated. It really, really is. In my mind, this stuff is simple. I make it difficult by complicating it on my own because I didn't like to do tax papers, the financial stuff. It was kind of like really boring and sometimes it caused problems. And if you don't do your proper due diligence, you're going to get in trouble. Like
Hmm.
not hiring the right people or just somebody walks in, you need somebody who says here's a t-shirt, start now, and then you haven't done your checking, right? It's poor discipline. That's the thing. Yeah, that's a problem.
So now looking back, somebody in your shoes at that age bracket back when you started with the subway, what are some of the advice you would give to them?
I'd say it's that. I think it's first of all, keep learning for sure, and
Hmm.
see if you can do it better and faster. And look at mentors, like you say, and look at people who've done something similar, and see if they've done it a little better, make it maybe a little easier for you. At the same time, definitely stay organized. Keep your accounting, your legal things in order. Because eventually they could backfire, right? I mean, you want to be in check with the government uh, things and taxation and all that stuff. Legal matters. And I mean, it sounds redundant and obvious, but it's if it gets out of hand, it could become a bit of a problem.
Definitely, I agree with you. So now that you're at 16, you're at a point where a lot of people would consider, well, Rio, you've reached the top. You have the nice car, you have the family, you have 16 locations of Subway. But
Mhm.
for you, it seems like there was something else missing, or what was it?
Well, I was still kind of young, and like I mean, there's like I was getting really, really bored, and like it's and Subway was over expanding, and I really stopped believing in the product.
Okay.
I believed in it at some point. It was a good sandwich or whatever, but I mean, it wasn't real the food that I wanted to be proud of and to serve and believe in. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to serve more whole foods that sort of nourish the body and create a better life for people, and bring people together, and families could be happy and people don't die as quickly. With disease, right? If we
Yes,
could
yes.
prevent disease. So I was sort of on a mission. Like I was driven by a higher power like that. I had a mission that I just wanted to help people's lives, really.
Okay.
So
So
that's it.
from having this vision and to switching to Copper Branch, how did that happen? How much research did you have to make before you finally made the first leap?
Yeah. So I started selling off the stores at some point, and then I had like three left within like about a year and a half.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, I was also doing the R&D on Copper Branch and learning more about veganism, vegan eating, whole foods, plant-based, food addictions, all stuff like that. And I worked with a consultant who basically he helped me out.
Okay.
Uh, Basically because I wasn't able, like, I'm a bit of a procrastinator, so I wasn't able to do it on my own. So having someone next to me was a motivator, to go and do information, get research, find designers, the steps to do, trademarking stuff. It's all kind of new.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. So that took about just over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I was actually paying him, and, he made a lot of money with all this, considering.
I'm sure he did. But what did
Yeah.
your family say? Because you have 16 locations of Subway, and now you want to go into this new thing because it's fairly new. Was there a lot of competition at that time for plant
Uh,
based diet?
yeah, it was like pretty new indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very different in the market. Yeah.
So what are people saying? People around you say, "Hey, Rio, are you sure? You want to go?"
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they nobody really knew what the hell's going on, and like, but they're just sitting on the sidelines and watching, right? They're just watching, really. They're not saying much, right? It's but I think when they started going into restaurants, and they were slightly impressed. They liked it. A lot of them liked it, so they were just watching. What else can you do, right?
Because
Yeah.
maybe now they know you. They know once you set your mind to something, you make sure you get there eventually.
Yeah, the parents are the worst people, right? I mean, they're always saying to be careful what you're doing, or right? They create all this doubt all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah. But how do you deal with that? How did you deal with that?
I had to kill them both. Just kidding. Yeah, it's no. Sometimes it became very annoying for sure. Yeah, my parents, I'd say, are quite negative, in that sense. I mean, they don't know any better necessarily, and they're afraid. I mean,
Yeah.
for risk,
Trying to
right? Like,
protect you, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, they're trying to protect. So yeah, you sort of take your doubts, your fears, and you try to put them aside, and you keep moving forward. For me, that's what I did, because I knew that I could jump out of the venture potentially if I didn't go fast enough. So I built 7 stores in about a year and a half. So I'd be all in, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to change my mind, you know. So that got me committed, because I knew that I could, get discouraged. It's easy to get discouraged, especially at the beginning. Things are tough, yeah, for sure.
So commitment means what to you? How would you define that commitment?
To commit, I
Yeah.
think today I see it a little differently. I have more, willpower and ability to sort of trust myself and to commit more on something. But I mean, back then, like I said, I had to sort of launch a bunch of stores, and that was my way to commit at the time, if it makes sense.
Then the research I did, it said that so you open the first one and then just not long after, then you open another one. How did you do that?
The copper branch, you mean, right?
Yes, yes,
But that's it. I opened up like 7 in 18 months.
yes.
So it was one after the other, and that's it.
Were there
I got,
franchisees that bought them so quickly?
no, it was all me.
It was on you, okay.
Yeah,
Because it
it
took
was
you
all
like
me.
2 decades to get to 16 subways, but then like less than
That's
two
because I wanted to
years.
go slow, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you go at your own pace. I mean, you could have had a lot more subways. I could have owned all of Quebec. I just, all of them here. It wouldn't be that hard, really. I mean, once you're on a roll. But I was really not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So now the copper branch is going really fast. So you just find a place. Tell us about how did you do that? So you find a place. Now you see the concept. You have a proof of concept with the first one. You realize things are going good. Then you decided to quickly open another one, then another one.
but proof of concept is still evolving, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Today, yeah, I think it's still evolving, and like any business, proof of concept is always an ongoing thing.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So we sort of like rolled the dice on a lot of stuff. We chose sites, and we put stores there, and we said, let's see how they do. And then that sort of is minimal. It's like we're doing a trial, but it's a real life trial. So obviously the consequences could be a lot greater.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So I think now we're at the point where we've collected a lot of data, and we definitely know a lot more what to do. So we have to like sort of accept the mistakes we made in the past. So we've closed some stores. We've learned which markets are better or not so good for this type of cuisine, for example, and yeah, so that helped a lot. But yeah, it was sort of launching in with both feet.
That's pretty impressive. You're talking as if, it's not a big deal. We just open that many stores, but for a lot of people,
Yeah,
it's still very hard. But
mm.
what advice would you give to somebody like that's looking to scale their business? Could be
Yeah.
a
I think
restaurant or
one thing we did is maybe we did a little bit fast, so we made like extra mistakes. I think what we could have done better is slow down a little bit, take more notes,
Mhm.
sort of analyze a little more what's going on and pay more attention to the operations, because the operations is the customer service side. And I think because we took in a lot of people who were just interested in buying a franchise, we didn't necessarily qualify them as good operators. We thought, absentee owners would still be involved somehow, but it doesn't make a good business necessarily, when the owner operator is not there and he doesn't properly train his people. And, so it comes out as poor execution on the operational side. So definitely, yeah, that has to be, slowed down a little bit. Make sure that every store, every operator is really, really solid, because it's affecting the brand otherwise.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then who do you look for now? Like when you find a good franchisee, when you're looking for them, what are some of the specifics that you look for?
Well, we want them to live the lifestyle, first of all. I mean, we want them to live an active lifestyle. We want them to believe in plant-based eating. Doesn't mean that they have to be vegan. They just, believe in healthier nutrition at a
Mhm.
higher level. And definitely we want them to be
Okay.
hands-on operators in the business. Yeah. So
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
no, it won't be as effective, and it's not worth their while either. It's a very tough competitive industry, as you could probably imagine. Well, what isn't today, right?
Yeah, everything is. Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's a challenge. And
Yeah.
considering with COVID, how did that impact Copper Branch?
It impacted us a lot.
Mm.
At the beginning, like everyone else, we were super confused. And what do we do? And do we just close down the stores and wait? And so we've lost a few stores during the COVID, especially like the downtown core and all that. I mean, there's no people anymore there. Nobody's in the office towers. And it's really, really weird. I'm actually worried for the government as well. I mean, which, is funding all this stuff, paying people's rents, paying people's wages. It's like they're really helping out a lot. I think they're doing a lot. So it's going to be, I wonder what that's going to look like in terms of the national debt at some point. But yeah, so it's been very difficult, the COVID. But, at some level, it's helped to evolve and to be more creative and come up with new ways of doing business,
What
which
are
is
some
good.
of the new ways or evolution that you had to implement quickly?
Yeah, definitely more of the delivery. Like we become experts like everyone else. We had to adapt and do the takeouts, the counter service, the cleanliness factors, and the curbside. We have a lot of curbside where people just pick up stuff like that. So we had to amp up our technology for stuff like that, and uh, and that's it. And cut overhead costs further. For
You
sure.
had to find a way as well to help out the franchisees, to keep the morale because everybody's morale was like, especially
Exactly.
back last year with all the
Yeah.
confusion.
Yeah. Exactly.
Tell me
And
what you
so,
think about this statement. It says, "Fail fast, fail forward." Would you feel that's
mhm.
something that you can relate to?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. Fail fast and then move forward quickly as well. So don't linger
We'll
too
see.
long on the failure, and try to put it behind you and keep moving. But yeah, there's no question that the more I'm in business, the more like failure is inevitable, and you
Mhm.
need to accept that, and it's part of the growth process. We're all going to fail, and the faster we fail, and the more we fail, and the faster we can get up, the faster we'll build a stronger business if we could keep getting up.
Tell me about the culture that you've created at Cover Branch. Who do you surround yourself with? Who do you hire, and what do you look for?
But we look for people who are really motivated and believe in changing the planet somehow, either with environmental ways, or not killing animals or whales, or things like that. Being humane is important, whether it's with animals or with people. So we look for people who are sort of innovative, who are sort of advanced in their thinking, and could bring that type of environment into the culture of the business for sure. Yeah, definitely. Changers, like people who are wanting something change and not wanting to stay the same status quo.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it seems like that's what you were able to do with Copper Branch to create like a blue ocean, something that maybe like something that was not there before back then, and then
Mhm.
you've because now I think Forbes described you as the fastest growing plant-based chain. Is that it?
Ah, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. At some point we were. I think we still are, but yeah, yeah, yeah,
But no, but it
yeah.
is pretty impressive to a lot of people that you were able to do that so quickly and finding
Hmm.
franchises, elsewhere, in Europe and these other places in the States. Because I read
Yeah,
that you just opened a new one. Was it
yeah.
Nashville? Yeah.
In Tennessee, Nashville.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, because we had a bunch of stores, around, then we spread to Ontario, and then we spread to the Western provinces. People like tourism. People go around, and we had a lot of inquiries. People find it intriguing or interested, and that's how it sort of spreads. Same thing with France, Belgium. I mean, we're opening up in Portugal now in a couple of months, and there's inquiries from Russia, which we had to turn down because we just can't go to Russia. These are challenges. It's not easy, and it's not going to be profitable. It's more for brand awareness. You
Mhm.
can't open up one or two stores in Russia or a foreign country and be profitable because of the distribution network. It's not easy to get the food there and to process stuff. There's not enough volume. So sometimes, you have to say no to some opportunities. Or
So
what?
when the challenges, when they come, because now you're international, when they come to you, here or there, people calling you, how do you stay sane? Because you have family. How do you detach yourself sometimes from the business?
Well, we all have our roles. We're a good sized team, and we have a lot of great people, like really smart business people, very corporate people. So
Mhm.
everyone does their job, and everyone does what they're supposed to do, and you sort of could segregate all that stuff, with family, with friends, with private life, whatever. Yeah, so it's all doable. I mean, I ask myself that question with the people who are like super successful, like I don't know, like. The guy who's got Tesla or Bezos. I mean, how does this guy even breathe? You know, I'm just wondering how if he has to go in and help out with the fulfillment sometimes with the orders. Because they're so busy.
Probably not. I don't think.
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then, so now you've done all of that, and let's take a maybe you can give us some advice there because we know that there's a lot of small business that they fail, like 80% of new businesses they fail for some reason. Do you know why, and what are some tips that you could give to small business owners?
Well, not to be cruel or anything, but maybe they were meant to fail. Maybe it's time, like fail fast and fail forward, get up and try something else. Maybe there wasn't enough consumer data. Like maybe that's not what the customer or consumer is really looking for, whatever they're offering. So maybe like, sometimes we waste our time creating something and it's not even what's in demand in the marketplace. So first, I mean, you should have like a minimal viable product, for example. So if someone's starting a business, they should test it out, see if there's demand at some point, right? Whatever it is. I mean, I failed to do so. I did it in a very limited way. I think you have to keep doing it and ongoing. Like for us, like menu development and in vegan cuisine, it's fickle, so you have to make sure that that's what people want and what is the mainstream going to want. So yeah, I think we have to do more homework, more research, for sure. Yeah, before like launching in.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just gonna ask you just a few questions, and then you can tell me your opinion on them. Okay.
Sure.
So, what does success mean to you?
For me, it means like creating something that you're passionate about and that you believe in, and whatever that is. If you're doing that and you're getting the results you want, I think that's success. And then if you can make money out of it as well, it's even better. But if you're a nonprofit doing something you love, I mean, it's still success, right? Yeah.
And if you had, what about discipline? I know you said you're a procrastinator a little bit, but what about discipline? What does that mean?
That's tough for me, believe it or not. It's hard for me to stay focused like a long time on a certain subject matter, and so that's why it would have been challenging for me to become a doctor, which was my first thing that I wanted to do. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of studying, so I wasn't able to focus for that long. But so I did the easy thing, go into business, right? It's because you could share the tasks, and that's it. So, but I think discipline, of course, once you have your goal set, you need to commit somehow and execute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have to find somebody that, share your weaknesses, and then you find somebody with their strength, that's your weakness, so that, it can't
Exactly. Yeah, it's part of the team building.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you had to redo everything over, what would you have done differently?
I think I just, pay a little more attention to the small details and, progress more cautiously. I wouldn't necessarily reduce the speed, but just a little more cautiously, and find the best possibly suited people for the tasks and business involved. Get the brightest, smartest people, the most innovative. You're going to need all the help you can get if you want to grow and scale, I think.
So the fastest way to grow, would you say it's going into franchising, or would
There's many ways, growth is franchising is one good way, but you lose some control because, you give your trademarks to someone else to operate,
Mhm.
and you basically make a revenue off them. But you could do corporate stores as well, which would be possible also, where we can raise capital and then build our own units, right? So, but we chose franchising, like in our industry, some choose franchising, some don't. McDonald's, for example, now is they have a big franchise base. You have Chipotle, which is 100% corporate owned, and they're doing really, really well. Starbucks, all corporate owned. Subway is all franchised.
Yeah.
So it's a different way of dealing with the business. You definitely have to adapt to whichever way you're doing.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I know time is, tight. What is your final advice, overall message of wisdom to business owners?
I think I'd say what a lot of successful people in business say. Not that I'm saying I'm successful or not, but I mean I try to always every day listen to mentors and keep reading. So basically, for sure, follow your heart and follow your dreams, and it could be done. And just keep doing what you love and what you believe in, and that's the most important thing. And just stay true to that.
Well, there we have it. It looks like
Mhm.
you gave us a lot of good
Yeah,
nuggets of gold there. I really appreciate that, Rio, and I'm sure
I
the
hope so.
audience will appreciate it as well. It was a pleasure to have you on
Yeah.
the show.
We should have a podcast next time with you, Cathy, because I'm sure you have a lot of good tidbits too with
Yes,
your
yes,
business
yes.
experience and everything else.